From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you're feeling the same. It is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And yes, I know I was off on Friday and everything like that, but I'm back today. And man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And I'm trying to figure out where the music's coming from. So pretty much I thought that I had cut this off already, but yeah, it's coming from here. But yeah, what's going on, y'all? Just pretty much ready to go ahead and jump into a full bevy of things. And up first, let's go ahead and get into the NFL Week 9 aftermath. We had a lot of good things go down yesterday. We had a lot of once again we separating the pretenders from the contenders. We're really seeing exactly who's going to be the teams that are going to be that you have to worry about in November and December, and the teams that are just pretty much getting ready to get the prepared for their off seasons right now. You know what I mean? Some guys are going to be getting hurt, some guys are going to be getting cut, some guys are going to be getting released. There's just going to be a lot of things going on. Guys getting called up from the practice squad, all that good stuff. But week 9 was just another formful week. There was a lot of things that went right for teams that needed things to go right, and there was a lot of things that went wrong for teams that needed to have things go right as well too. So it is what it is. But up first, let's go ahead and talk about the game that was in Germany, in Frankfurt. The Chiefs hold off the Dolphins in Frankfurt, winning 21-14. So pretty much in this game, you had a very good start by the Chiefs. The Chiefs wound up jumping out to a 21-0 lead. It seemed like they were about to really romp the Dolphins. And then the Dolphins pretty much went ahead and nipped all that in the butt. They had a 14-point third quarter, made the game very exciting, and had plenty of opportunities to tie the game up in the end as well too, but they just could not go do that. But they did outgain the Chiefs yesterday, which was kind of a surprise for a team that jumped out to a 21-0 lead. And then also they had more first downs than the Chiefs as well too. And they outgained them 292 to 267 in total. And then Tua even threw for one more yard than Patrick Mahomes, actually 8 more yards, but when you do the net total, it was only 1 more yard. And then they outrushed them as well too, but that wasn't a big surprise in that part. Both teams had a turnover, and then 3 sacks for the Kansas City Chiefs defense that I felt carried them throughout this game. But 9 penalties, 69 yards, that's not going to cut it. And you know what? This is the third or fourth time that you've had a Chiefs team have multiple penalties, almost 8 to 9, 10 penalties in a game, and the game is just much closer than it really needs to be. But all in all, they truly did fight the Dolphins, but it just wasn't enough. They were really kept in check yesterday, to be honest. And there's a lot of questions that you have for the Dolphins right now. Can they beat a good team? You know what I mean? Not a good team, but an elite team. And it seems like they're having their issues because they're in their 3 losses. They have been really out of their element. They got absolutely tossed up by Buffalo. Philly had their way with them as well too. And then you saw yesterday, the Chiefs jumped out to a 21-point lead and just held them off. That's all they needed to do. But it's a learning curve for everything. And I think they kind of turned a corner yesterday with knowing how they need to approach these games. And let's keep it real. I know that a lot of people probably be like, Pop, you always got something to say bad about the Chiefs. But come on, let's keep it real. The Chiefs are not playing top tier football right now. They are playing survival ball, in my opinion. And Patrick Mahomes has not looked that good this season. He's had his moments, he's had his games, but he's really had to adjust without having a stellar receiving core and really relying just on Travis Kelce, who only had 3 catches for 14 yards yesterday. And you see what happens when you kind of limit Kelce a little bit. They're kind of an ineffective team, but they still won the game, and that's just what the great ones do. You win ugly games, and that's exactly what the Chiefs keep doing. And how long can it last? I don't know, but a win is a win, as we always like to say. So pretty much with that, congratulations to the Chiefs, moving their record now to now their record is 7-2 moving forward. The Dolphins are 6-3. And yes, both these teams look like playoff bound teams, and they do look like they will be having a rematch in the playoffs as well, too, which should be something that is going to be very intriguing moving forward as well, too. So with that, let's move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is going to be this. It's going to be Ravens dominant at home again, this time crushing the Seahawks 37-3. The Seahawks really stood no chance in this game yesterday. It was probably Geno Smith's worst game in the NFL as a starter yesterday as well, too. I know he's probably had others, but yesterday was bad. 13-28, 157 yards, and he was sacked 4 times, threw a pick. Also, Kenneth Walker III was shut down yesterday, 16 rushing yards on 9 attempts. Charbonnet only had 8 on 4 attempts, so they literally held them to 28 yards on 3 rushers yesterday. Receiving was awful yesterday as well, too. JSN was probably their only bright spot, but he didn't even do that great. He had 6 receptions for 63 yards, and DK Metcalf was absolutely kept in check, but he did get 1 bomb thrown to him for a 50-yard reception yesterday. So, he had that, but other than that, he didn't do much of anything yesterday, and hasn't been doing much of anything most of this season. 100-yard game all year long. There's something that has to give here. And also Lockett yesterday, very ineffective, 3 catches for 32 yards. So this was no help for the Seahawks team that really is reliant on their passing game. Defense was really mediocre yesterday. They didn't do much of anything yesterday. They wound up giving up 515 total yards yesterday. And you know what? This is what happens when the offense doesn't show up for the Seattle Seahawks. They keep their defense. They make their defense, which is a liability, look really bad. Because when their offense is flowing and they're actually moving the ball, the defense has time to rest. Yesterday, they had no time to rest. They gave up almost 300 yards on the ground yesterday. That's what the key difference in the game was. The Ravens just kept pounding that rock, kept the ball on the ground, and absolutely dominated a Seahawks team that was freshly anointed the first place team in the NFC West, and seems like that, they could be a little bit tougher than the 49ers moving forward, but that was all smoke and mirrors, because we all know that the 49ers are in a division that they are really built to win, but the only way they can lose it is if they just blow it on their own. And, Seattle is really fortunate to be able to even say they're 5-3 right now. They're more of a 4-4, 3-5 team, in my opinion. They have not played great football the first 9 weeks of the season. They've been able to have the right type of opponents to where you can get certain wins in certain games. They could have easily lost last week against the Browns as well, too. So, there's just a lot of things that are left to be desired with the Seahawks. And, maybe they might need to make a bit of a switch if this thing doesn't keep going forward, doesn't move forward the way that they needed to. I really, truly feel Drew Lock is the better fit for this group right here. Now, Lamar Jackson yesterday, 21-26, 187 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns yesterday, but he still was able to be consistently really good for his team. He got 60 yards on the ground yesterday as well, too. Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell were absolutely gems yesterday. They wound up getting themselves 190 yards apiece, 190 yards in total, I mean, on 14 carries and 3 touchdowns. So that's something that you really do need to look at and say, hey, they got something here. And then, you add in Lamar's 60 and then Justice Hill had 40 yards. They just had a day yesterday on the ground. Like, everybody looked good on the ground. Mark Andrews, 9 catches yesterday. OBJ, finally in the mix. He got himself a touchdown, 5 catches for 56 yards. Zay Flowers was really held in check, but with OBJ having a good day, that kind of made it to where that didn't really matter because Andrews and Beckham were really good. And then the defense did their job. Kyle Van Noy, 2 sacks yesterday. Matabuki had a sack yesterday as well, too. And Oa had a sack as well, too. So they combined as a group for 4 sacks against this team. So it's just really things are moving in the right direction for the Ravens, who are in the toughest division in all of football. They're sitting at 7-2 right now, with the rest of the division sitting at 5-3. So this is incredible because they got the Browns coming in this week into Baltimore, and everybody knows that the Baltimore Ravens have lost 1 time at home, and that one loss was really early. It was so early in the season now that it really was kind of like whatever. But this is going to be their biggest game in the last few weeks, and it's going to be huge against the Browns, who come in here 5-3. And they are playoff eligible right now as well, too. So if we start at the playoffs today, everybody in the North is in the playoffs. So this is going to be a really good game, and we're going to get more into it tomorrow with the NFL Bet Exchange. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward and get into our next topic, and that's going to be C.J. Stroud leads the last-minute comeback as Texans beat the Bucs 39-37. That was absolutely incredible. C.J. Stroud had 46 seconds yesterday to win this game. And a lot of us pretty much said, you know what, they're going to probably fall short. They didn't have a field goal kicker yesterday either because their field goal kicker actually got hurt. So then they had to actually use their third, fourth string running back as the emergency kicker. I couldn't believe the punter wasn't their kicker yesterday, but they just went ahead and rolled with it. And that young man went ahead and hit a field goal last night. So he can add hitting a field goal, scoring a touchdown to his resume of things he's done in the NFL when it's all said and done. C.J. Stroud, absolutely incredible yesterday. He had 470 yards through the air. He threw 5 touchdowns yesterday as well, too. You pretty much can go ahead and cement him as the rookie of the year. There is no more questions. There isn't anybody else that you can really put up next to him and say that's the rookie of the year. 30 of 42. He was 11.2 yards every attempt, 71.4 completion percentage as well. And then he also had a QBR 147.8. Yes, he was sacked 3 times, but it really didn't make a difference in the game. He absolutely dominated. Nico Brown, 153 yards on 6 catches. Also, Dalton Schultz, 10 catches, 130 yards. Tank Dell was the star of the game yesterday. 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions, 114 yards. Nico Collins had 3 touchdowns, 54 yards. And I'm sorry, Noah Brown, actually. Noah Brown had a 75-yard catch as well, too. And John Mechie, a guy that you thought was going to probably be a big-time kid because he's from Alabama and everything like that. But, he had his element and everything like that in his rookie year. So it was good to see him get a catch yesterday as well, too, for 14 yards. So, this was just a really good team effort, but their defense was really exposed yesterday as well, too. They gave up 332 yards in total, but they got 496 yards as a group, but most of that was through the air as well, too. And then, passing for running 63 to 62 plays. The Bucs ran a play more than the Texans as well, too. Both these teams had turnovers, but CJ threw no interceptions. And I think the thing that kept this game really close yesterday and kept it kind of extended was both teams had 9 penalties apiece. So that was something that played a big factor into this game and really helped, in the long run of having more time for this Texas team to win the game, because the way that the Bucs went ahead and got ahead in the game, it was like, okay, we're going home. Bucs had did everything that they were supposed to do, but they left too much time on the clock. And CJ went ahead and answered the question: is he a guy that can lead your team to a comeback? And he looked very Elway-esque yesterday. So congratulations to the Texans, who keep moving and actually are sitting at 500, something that we're all kind of surprised with going into week 10. And then you have a Buccaneers team that started off the season 3-0, now find themselves that started off the season 3-1, now find themselves losers of their last 4 in a row since coming out the bye week. So they really do need to go ahead and stop the bleeding quickly. They have Tennessee coming up next week, and it should be a little bit better for them because, it seems like they're faring pretty well against these AFC teams. And then you have the Texans playing against Cincinnati this week, and probably their toughest game of the season, pretty much since they played Pittsburgh, in my opinion. I think that this should be a game that, that might surprise a few people, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll talk a lot more about it tomorrow on the NFL Bet Exchange. So with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next, and that's going to be this. This is going to be the Raiders blowing out the Giants 30-6 in the first game with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. The Raiders, big win yesterday. They looked good. You know what I mean? They looked real good winning that game yesterday. They had AOC. Hopefully that's AOC, not Derek Carr. They looked dead on each other and all that good stuff. But AOC did take over yesterday. He was decent yesterday, 219 yards, 16-25. And he threw a touchdown pass. Let me make sure that I'm all the way right with that, though. But you know what? At the end of the day, they were playing against a Giants team that just was trying to survive. Because as soon as the games pretty much started, Daniel Jones tore his ACL. So he's out. You got to bring DeVito back in. DeVito is a third-string quarterback on any team in the NFL. DeVito was probably, he was a fun little story at Syracuse for 5 minutes. And then they started being a sorry team again. But DeVito is a gamer. He's a guy that's you can trust to show up and at least try. And he did try a little bit yesterday, but it just wasn't enough. If you really compare the numbers, you would say that Vito did a little bit better, even though he threw 2 interceptions, but he went 15 for 20. And he also was able to figure some things out, get really comfortable. Saquon Barkley had 90 yards yesterday on the ground, 23 receiving. So he did his portion. He did his job, showing the value of having Saquon Barkley. Doesn't really matter who your quarterback is, as long as Saquon's out there being active and helping, he can really go ahead and affect the whole offense to be successful if you play it the correct way. And I think the ball is pretty much knows this and appreciates this as well too, because on 20 touches yesterday, Saquon got literally 40% of the yardage for this team. But when you really look at everything, it was all about the Raiders yesterday. Josh Jacobs had 26 carries for 98 yards. So that means that Pierce was really into making sure they ran the ball yesterday as well too. They game plan for that. Jacoby Myers also went ahead and scored a touchdown on a reverse yesterday, 17-yard scamper, and he was pretty good in the receiving game, 38 yards. But Tucker was the man yesterday. He's the guy with the high number, 2 receptions for 52 yards. And Davante Adams, once again, another lackluster type of game. Yes, he was involved. He got 7 targets yesterday, but he caught 4 balls for 34 yards. That's just, we got all this complaining going on. We got, I'm a weapon, this, that, and the third, and the guy still isn't really showing up week in and week out. Last week it was what? 1 catch for 11 yards on 7 targets. And then the week before that, it was 7 receptions on 57 yards. He's had 1 good game this year, and it was against Pittsburgh. And that's because they were looking for him all night long. He had 20 targets that night, 172 yards receiving, and he had 2 touchdowns. So there has to be something that's going to really, really move the right way for the Raiders when it comes to Davante Adams. You just cannot waste this type of player. But Davante, there is something else more going on with Davante than just him have struggling in these games. He's been a little hurt. He's been a little gimpy in these last few games. And I know by the time we get to the end of the season, they'll go ahead and say that Davante Adams had a lingering injury that affected his play. It has to be something of that accord because Davante should still be getting at least 85 to 90 yards per game minimum because the guy is open half the time anyway. So I just don't understand. But you know what? When the quarterback's under a lot of distress, a lot of pressure, these things tend to happen. You know what I mean? So pretty much the Raiders yesterday, very good effort. Very good effort. They played a great game. They put themselves in position to continue a bit of a run to possibly maybe sneak into the playoffs. But it's a lot of heavy lifting that the Raiders have to do because right now, if you have a losing record in the AFC, you really have to tell yourself that we're probably getting ready for the draft because it's really hard to catch up with this group. And you already have teams like Indianapolis ahead of you. Houston's ahead of you as well, too. You got Buffalo, New York ahead of you. And then you have the whole AFC North ahead of you as well. So it's a really tough conference in a sense. So do the Raiders really have a shot at making the playoffs? I doubt it. But you know what? For the fan rapport and fan, participation and everything like that, the Raiders get an A+ because they made sure that they did this for the fans. You know what I mean? But I really feel like they just put a Band-Aid on a leaking radiator. That's all they did. At the end of the day, you got to get the radiator fixed, right? And I think the Raiders aren't going to get the radiator fixed until the end of the year. They are just happy that they don't have Josh McDaniels as the coach anymore. But I truly do feel at the end of the day, the mistakes are so heavy and so blatant that the Raiders are going to be affected by all this for the next 5 to 6 years. They're not going to be back to being a great team for a while. And I think that, over investing in head coaches and then not being able to hold on to these head coaches is going to be the burden that really does sting the Raiders for this period of time. It was all good. It was great, smoking cigars all throughout the locker room, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, this is not going to be conducive to winning football week in and week out. You beat a team that barely tried, okay? And so let's not play the game like you went ahead and you're one of the elite teams in the NFL and you just needed to make a change. You guys just really pretty much showed all of us that you're only going to play if you like the coach. And if that's the only time you're going to play, then you know what? You're not really worthy. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, because in reality, the champions, they play for each other. Real NFL, real teams, they play for each other. They don't play for coaches. They don't play for the owners. They don't play for any of that. They play for themselves to try to get themselves to the greater goal. But when you saying that we're not going to try until we get another coach, that just gives me the idea that you guys are a bunch of babies. And at the end of the day, I'm not defending Josh McDaniels, but the players need to be more accountable as well, too, because they made a lot of bonehead mistakes, and those bonehead mistakes aren't going anywhere. Sorry, they're not. They'll be back to it next week when they play the Jets. So with that, we move forward, and we have ourselves the Eagles surviving a war with bitter rival Cowboys, winning 28-23. Really, pretty much, we all know the Eagles literally were saved by the grace of being a great team yesterday. If they were still a team that was trying to figure it out, this would have been all bad for the Eagles yesterday, but they're not. The Eagles are a team that can figure out how to win these games when the game doesn't look winnable. And really, pretty much in any other situation, another team probably would have beat the Eagles yesterday. But the Eagles had it in their mind, we have to beat the Cowboys. That's exactly what it was yesterday. We have to beat the Cowboys. Even though in the fourth quarter, it really looked like the Eagles were a tired team. They were really out of it mentally because they kept making bad mistakes throughout the quarter. Also, they got some breaks as well, too. DeAndre Swift fumbled the ball. They wound up recovering the ball. The ball was in their on their side of the field as well, too. Dak Prescott had 2 opportunities to give them the lead in this game. They wound up being able to get the ball back whenever they wanted to in the fourth quarter. It was just a killer to me that Dallas had that many opportunities to score. And I felt like when they had that moment with the tight end who was down by an inch of the end zone, you should have kicked the field goal right there, knowing you were going to get the ball back. But, it worked out because they were able to get the Eagles to go 3-and-out at that point as well, too. So it was just a lot of things that bounced the Eagles' way the right way yesterday. And the Cowboys did everything they possibly could to win this game. The Cowboys really played probably their best game of the season, and they wound up really falling short, but showing everybody that, you know what? The Eagles, we're going to see you in Dallas, buddy. We're going to see you in Arlington. And things may get a little different there because you know what? We're going to be at our house. And, yesterday, the Eagles I had never seen them be this sloppy in a crunch time situation. So many unneeded penalties, all that good stuff that occurred. And Dak Prescott had himself a game again. Yesterday, just like Sam Howell had himself a game last week. And again, the Eagles give up over 400 yards in offense. The defense gives up over 400 yards. And then also the secondary allows the opposing quarterback to throw over 370 yards again. So they are getting absolutely scorched by their rivals in the division when it comes to the quarterback. So the Eagles are going to have to fix that very quickly, and I think that they're leaking oil just a little bit. And they showed me yesterday that, you know what, they can get comfortable with a lead, but once you figure things out with Jalen Hurts and you don't give them the access to doing the tush push and all that stuff, brotherly shove, then they're kind of an ordinary team. They have a very basic play calling scheme as well too. Run DeAndre Swift a lot, look for AJ Brown on slants and goals and things like that, and try to find Devonta down the field running by himself. That seems like the plan for them. And then throw Goddard in there when I can't get to those two or DeAndre. You know what I mean? So it's just something that I feel is so simplistic that when you get to a big playoff situation, that can be exposed. But for right now, the Eagles still are the best team in the NFC, okay? It's not that they're not the best team in the NFC, but I see a lot of flaws in this team. And when they get exposed, it'll be a bad situation. But we'll see. Right now, they're playing great football. They survived again. They beat a very game Dallas team, and Dallas kind of showed us that possibly that they are the second best team in the NFC for this week at least, because the Cowboys will be back next week, and we know the Cowboys beat the brakes off the we know the 49ers beat the brakes off the Cowboys. So we know that they still are the second in the clubhouse when it comes to the NFC. But the Cowboys showed us that they can sit there and go toe-to-toe with this Eagles team. And really, they can beat this Eagles team if they can go ahead and limit the mistakes and execute on the drives that they need to execute on. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the Bengals beating the Bills 24-18 on Sunday Night Football and have now won 4 games in a row. The Bills, I never wrote them off. I told you guys, even though I did say the Bills possibly won't make the playoffs, because I'm still sticking to that. They could still possibly not make the playoffs. But I still think that Cincinnati has been so good. They started off the season 1-3. And they were really, really, really leaning hard because they got blown out twice in those first 4 games as well, too. They lost a game where it pretty much was a game that had already been settled with Baltimore, and then they got themselves a little rinky-dinky lucky win on Monday Night Football against a middling Rams team. And then they make the trip to Arizona. And you know what? Things look a little funny going to Arizona after losing the way that they did to Tennessee the week before, 27-3. They go to Arizona, they get right. And, Jamar has the game of games. Jamar, 12 catches, 100-some-odd yards that day, catches, 3 touchdowns. He had himself a game. He pretty much had been struggling all season, has himself a game. He's back to normal. Then they play Seattle the next week in a close game in Cincinnati. Then they come back around and they dominate the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara. They literally sent them packing for the bye week and with the sour taste in their mouth. And then last night they go ahead and they keep things in check against Josh Allen, and once again beat the Bills 24-18. But they beat them just like they did last year in the playoffs. So, Josh Allen trying to figure it out. He still had 258 yards thrown against them last night. But, he had to be the lead rusher as well, too, with 44 yards. Stephon Diggs was good, 6 catches, 86 yards with the touchdown last night. Kincaid kind of came into his own with 10 catches last night as well, too. And then you got some good looks from the defense with Phillips and Floyd. But when you look at the Bengals numbers last night, Joe Burrow, ice cold, is just cold as ice. The guy is absolutely incredible. 348 yards this week, 2 touchdowns. He was only sacked once, and threw for 70% completion percentage, and also was 108.9 on the QBR as well too. So he had himself a pretty good game. He had himself a great game last week as well too. And in his last 4 games, Burrow has thrown 10 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. So that's pretty good for a guy who started off his first 4 games of the season with only 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and was sacked 9 times in the process as well too, and didn't have a QBR better than 85.6 in those first 4 games. Since then, his lowest QBR has been 88.4, with his highest being 134.8. So it's just been day and night with Joe. September was bad. October was great. November, it looks like it's going to be greater, because this guy is on pace to really go ahead and put himself in a category that other Bengals quarterbacks have never been to. And I think that this guy is very, very into the MVP conversation. He's not in my top 5 as of yet, but the way he's been playing, he probably will be sneaking into the top 5 fairly soon. So with that, the Bengals, once again, great win for them. They have a game against the Texans coming up next week. You got the Bills next week, who are really in need of a bye, in my opinion. The Bills don't get a bye until after the Philadelphia game. They got the Broncos and the Jets in Buffalo. So that should be good. And then they got a really tough game against Philadelphia. But I think that should be a game that they can really measure themselves on and see exactly who they are. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into the Lakers, state of the Lakers. We're also going to get into the NBA Monday night as well, too. And then after that, we got Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. We are back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, the PrimeTime Angles. And you guys know that we are 4 years deep into this show, really about 5 years deep into the show, and then almost a decade deep into doing these sports betting podcasts and things like that, and sports betting shows and stuff. So, you know, as we get closer to the end of the year, man, I just always appreciate the fact that I was able to be one of the original people that really jumped into trying to explain the situation to y'all, because I've been doing this since 2015. But I'm glad to get somebody new every single day and all that good stuff. But just know that you're not dealing with a rookie here. It's a real vet here. But all in all, let's go ahead and talk about the Lakers. State of the Lakers, one of my oldest segments. And if you've been following me for that long, you know I've been on the State of the Lakers since Kobe was still on the team, and when they were bad, losing 60 games a year. So pretty much the Lakers last week, even it seems like the Lakers are a terrible road team, but a great home team at this point. Undefeated at home, winless on the road. It's just really, really simple. Lakers are 6 games in, they're 3-3. Okay, it's not much to really brag about or anything of that nature. It's just something that the Lakers are going through, because once again, when you have a turnover on the roster, you're going to have to deal with getting new chemistry with the roster. And when you don't have great players to really build that chemistry quicker, then it takes a little bit of time, because you have to figure out what guys are great at and what guys are bad at. And right now, they're figuring out that they have a lot of guys that do the same exact thing. And this seems to be the same problem the Lakers had at the first half of the season last year as well, too. So it's inevitable that the Lakers are going to, start moving parts within the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. But I do think that the Lakers need a lot more from these 2 big men that they just signed, and Jackson Hayes, a guy that you thought was going to come in here and be a guy that tries to come in here and get 10, 11 rebounds every time he steps on the court. You thought Christian Wood would be a guy that's more about getting his double-doubles, things of that nature. I feel like they are playing up to their ability at home, but they're not playing up to their ability at the place where you need them most, and that's on the road. I think Laker role players need to prove themselves a little bit more when in these road games, because LeBron and AD are going to do what they do. They're gonna supply what they can. You're gonna get almost 20 points. You're gonna get 20 plus points, 10 almost 10 assists, almost 10 rebounds from LeBron. With AD, you're trying to get yourself a double-double every single night. These guys, that's their goals every single night. But what's D'Angelo Russell doing? What's I was about to say Caruso, but what's Reeves doing? What's Rue's hurt right now? Rue, hopefully he can play tonight with the eye contusion issue. He's a 50-50. That's a game time decision. But you need more. You truly do. I think Gabe Vincent, him being a little banged up right now, that's not very helpful for the team. Max Christie was a guy that a lot of people were very chomping at the bit for to get some playing time. I wasn't very impressed when I saw him come into the game and do much of nothing. He played some good defense. He had a nice little attempt at a 3-pointer, but other than that, I think that it's just more about fans just being in love with young players and rookies and feeling like they can change the whole scenery of the team if they just get a few more minutes. But I don't know. Guys, when guys are going to make an impact, they don't sit on the bench like Max Christie does. And I'm trying to get people to understand there's a reason why he's not getting a lot of playing time, is because he's getting cooked at practice. It's that simple. Darvin Ham plays the people that are playing the absolute best on the team at that moment in time. He's not just going to throw a guy out there because he's some rookie that you all want to watch play. Now, I would like to see Shavino get some playing time fairly soon, because it seems like he's a rookie that can translate to the NBA much quicker. And I think that he's in a position where his skill level can be used right away, because I think that he can be somebody that's going to be what they saw in Gabe Vincent, but a lot younger, a lot more athletic, and just a much better player. So that's something that they do need to kind of start looking at. But LeBron and AD need more help. That's all I can say. They need guys to rebound better. They need guys to play defense better. They need guys to really buy into being solid team players and not worry about being the best friends to LeBron and AD. Be contributors to the win. Be contributors to the winning streak. Be contributors night in, night out that are going to help this team actually succeed this season and not just be up in here sucking for wind when it's time to make the playoffs. The Lakers really do need to check themselves, and these big men need to go ahead and be big men and go get these rebounds and go be forces on the defensive end. Stop worrying so much about getting your threes off and all that other extra shit that doesn't matter. Just go in there and do your job. The big men, you need to be the anchor of the defense, and you need to be a low post presence, and you need to be a factor on the rebounds. Let me tell you, when the Lakers were winning championships back in 2009 and 2010, the Lakers were the best rebounding team in the NBA. And a lot of credit goes to Paul Gasol for absolutely a lot of things that he did not do. Lamar Odom and Andrew Bynum made it their job to be the best, some of the best rebounders in the NBA. Kobe did as well, too, to be the best rebounding guard in the NBA. Derek Fisher went out of his way to make sure that he was the best rebounding point guard in the NBA if he had to be. And you know what? Paul Gasol was also a big help on the boards as well, too. But he didn't make it his job the way that Bynum and Odom did. And the Lakers need to have their big men in that mentality. So I truly do feel that sometimes you might need to use some motivation to get guys going a little bit. And I think that's where Darvin Ham kind of falters at. I don't know if he talks to him enough about being, assertive in that position. He's talking to the media a lot about it, but is he talking to them a lot about it? That's my question. But with that, we got a game tonight against Miami. I think that this game should be one that a lot of people will be very interested in because it's a very good matchup. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. It's not a must-win situation because, as I said, the first 6 weeks of the season for the Lakers, this is a learning period. This is getting used to your teammates period, and really is an evaluation of these said teammates as well too, just in case you do need to make a move to bring in somebody else that can fit into what the Lakers envision themselves doing for the rest of the season. So with that, let's move forward and talk about our first game in the NBA that I'm talking about tonight. That's going to be the Mavs 5-1, the Magic 5-2. The Magic 4-2. The Magic are off to a pretty good start. They haven't looked like this in a very long time, but they have a young, fresh, energetic group that believes in themselves. And they've kind of put themselves in the mix for possibly upsetting the cart a little bit and maybe locking down that Southeast title, which is, to me, a wide open situation if a team is able to pounce on some momentum early in the season. And that doesn't mean the Heat. The Heat are going to be there. The Heat are like a veteran racehorse. They're going to sometimes it takes them a little bit to warm up. They got to be in some allowance races, some just whatever stuff, and they might not win that day. But when it comes to the big race, they'll be there. They'll be ready, and they'll be gamed up. Orlando knows they have to put themselves in position to be ahead of this Miami Heat team if they really truly have an idea of winning the Southeast this year. And that should be a goal for this team. I know that it seems far-fetched, but this is one of the divisions in basketball that is not far-fetched in. It just takes a nice little hot streak and consistently winning and consistently not losing. That's what pretty much it is, and then you can possibly get there. Right now, Banchero is playing great basketball. He's playing all-star basketball. He's playing at a high level. He's probably going to be an all-pro this year as well, too, all-NBA. So that's something that I know he has in his goals, and I know that's something that he's looking forward to. Could he possibly be an all-star starter this year? Anything can happen because he's in the Eastern Conference, and he's showing and proving that he's one of the better players in the NBA, one of the better young players in the NBA, as we have the race for the face of the league at this point. And Paolo is right there in the mix of all that right now. You got Cole Anthony, who's playing great basketball right now as well, too. Jalen Suggs is coming into his own as well, too. Even though he was a high pick that doesn't start, he's still playing at a max effort. So that's something that's really good for this Orlando team moving forward. Then you have a Dallas team that's really playing good basketball. They're playing as they were advertised, as a team that's going to be playing off of Kyrie and Luka. And right now, they're playing off them very well. But when you look at the schedule, you know that Dallas has had some help a little bit because they're not going against some of the better teams in the league right now. You know, their one loss came against Denver, and Denver absolutely housed them. But that was actually a tournament game, so they're not counting that. So pretty much that's why when you see 5-1, it's like, how are they 5-1 when they're really 5-0? They really haven't lost a actual NBA game this year, and pretty much they are a team that when you look at their schedule here, the next two games, they are putting themselves kind of in a tough spot because you got Orlando. This is a game that you're really going to have to play up for. But, you know, then you got to go right back to Dallas and go against a Toronto team that's really a wild card. You don't know what to expect when you play against this team. And they'll be making their Texas two-step anyway at this point. So, you know, they'll have a day off, rested and everything like that. And Mavericks got to fly back to Dallas to play these guys. So, you know, it is what it is. And then they got a big game against the Clippers on Friday as well, too, in Dallas. So, you know, this Dallas team is looking much better than they did to start the season last year. And I think that they have a lot of good rapport moving forward with Jason Kidd being able to have himself a dynamic duo in Luka and Kyrie. But all in all, the way I see this game shaping up tonight, I see the Magic actually winning this game tonight. The Magic are really good at home. All their losses are on the road. And, you know, they've just been playing really good basketball. And the Lakers were a victim of that on Saturday night. It's just sometimes teams just play up to it. And it seems like their home crowd is really back into rooting for their Orlando Magic. And I'm going to tell you like this, when the Magic are really good, those people show up in droves and it gets really loud in those arenas and it gets really tough to beat these Orlando teams. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next, which is going to be the Wizards and the 76ers. And the Wizards and the 76ers, this is a game that I put up because I truly do feel that the Wizards 1-4, 76ers 4-1. You have 11.5 point spread, over under 228.5, division rivals. And I truly do feel like when you really look at this game, a lot of people are going to see this as their cherry, their gimme spot. And pretty much this will be a money line special for everybody who just wants to win a game. You know what I mean? But, you know, you should never, ever overspend on a big favorite like that on the money line segment, unless it's in a parlay that you feel that you can really cash out. But then at the same time, too, you don't want something to take too much value away from you. And then when you look at the 11.5, it's really tough to bet that 11.5 because it's a Monday night. And you don't know how these teams are coming off the weekend as well, too. You usually favor the road team because they're coming off of a weekend where, you know that they got a game Monday night. So they were already prepared. They'd have already flew out to the city the day before to play this game if they didn't have a prior game. And, you know, they're rested. They're ready to go. So, and then, you know, in this situation, you have a team that's going to probably overlook the roster of the Wizards when they shouldn't, knowing that they're going to see each other again as well, too. I was going to say they were rivals, but they used to be rivals because they don't have the old Atlantic anymore. The Wizards are a Southeast team. 76ers are an Atlantic team. But this should be a really, really fun game tonight. And I truly do think what happens here is that the Wizards surprise all of us and actually cover with the plus 11.5 tonight. I think that's an absolute must to jump on because they're giving you double digits on a team that's really capable of doing it. But I just don't like Monday nights for these type of situations. It always seems like it goes to the left. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward and let's jump into our next topic, which is going to be the Clippers and the Knicks. The Clippers head on over to the Garden tonight to go against the Knicks, and the Knicks have kind of been struggling a little bit. The Clippers kind of slow out the gate right now. But what's fun about this is that you're going to get James Harden tonight from what I saw. James Harden should be going against the Knicks tonight. That should be a lot of fun. So now things change up a little bit, but still, the Knicks are still the favorite in this game. And let me make sure this is Harden's debut, because I saw somewhere that he was making his debut, but I don't know if it's this exact game. And the way that the line's setting up is probably saying no, but we'll see. You know what I mean? But all in all, though, the Clippers are in a better shape. You know, they're the most exciting story in LA now. You know, the Lakers really, just got AD and LeBron, but the Clippers got storyline. They got Kawhi, they got Paul George, they got Russell Westbrook, they got James Harden, they got 2 MVPs on their team that were previously teammates before, 2 guys that were previously teammates before as well too, and with Russell Westbrook, and now you have Kawhi, the guy that they see is pretty much the Oracle, who did get himself an NBA title back in 2019 all by himself. To add on to the 2 that he already had before that with the Spurs. So pretty much you have a guy that's really ready to move forward and move himself into the right direction of being, one of these good leaders in the NBA. And he has the roster to do it. He has the guys to do it. And that's one thing that gets you a little excited about the Clippers, because they got the right type of leader as long as everybody stays healthy. But you know me, I ain't that excited about the Clippers, because I know the Clippers and I know what they're capable of doing when it comes to losing. So it is what it is. The Knicks, on the other hand, you're hoping that they don't go back to being the ugly Knicks anymore. You want the Knicks to be back to being one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, one of the better teams in the NBA like they were last year. This was really good for TV. This was really good for, just the NBA in general. So I think this is just a hiccup of the first 6 games of the season. They're another team just trying to figure out how to balance out chemistry with this group, because they got some new additions that, pretty much are finding their way. And then you got guys that are really getting more acclimated, because I think that a lot of the guys who played for Team USA were really tired coming back to America this year. But when I look at this game, all in all, I do say that this is an under game. I think defense will be at a high premium tonight. So with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next, which is going to be this right here, the Celtics and the Wolves. And this might be one of our better games of the night between 2 teams that I truly do feel that are going in the right direction. The Wolves are 3-2, but they're a really good home team. And you got the Celtics 5-0, and the Celtics have been very impressive in their first 5 games of the season. They absolutely have wrecked teams, and that's something that you can really, really get excited about if you're a Celtics fan moving forward this year. And also the Celtics have it in their head that it's a ring or bust season. No more of this, let's just get to the Eastern Conference Finals and hope we do get to the finals. No, this group knows that they've elevated themselves past that point. A few years back, they played in the finals and came up short against the Golden State Warriors. A lot of us felt like they should have won that final. I know that they feel like they should have won that final. Then last year, you got Miami jumping your way after you had a crazy series with the 76ers. You come back around and you literally tie the series back up with Miami, and then you figure out a way to still lose said series in Game 7. So there's a lot of things on the Celtics' mind that are negative and positive. The positives is that they have their group here pretty much still intact, but they added 2 All-Stars into that group, and one guy was considered a unicorn because he was Wemby before Wemby, pretty much. And then you got Drew Holiday, one of the best lockdown defenders in the NBA. So there's a lot of things moving in the right direction for the Boston Celtics. Minnesota, on the other hand, has 2 of the most versatile bigs in the league, one of the best defensive bigs in Rudy Gobert, and then the guy that pretty much could be the MVP if he could ever stay healthy or just be consistent is Kat, K-A-T. And then you got Ant Edwards as well, too. So you have a really good matchup tonight with the Celtics and the Timberwolves. So I feel like with this one, we play the over. I think the over is the right play here. It's a inter-conference game as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, and pretty much our game of the night is going to be this: the Pelicans and the Nuggets. The Pelicans coming here 4-2. The Nuggets are 6-1, and the Nuggets, a team to me that really does pass the test this year of a team that's trying to repeat. And they're tough. They are tough. They're difficult. And they're playing great basketball right now. You know, they had a bad loss to Minnesota last week, but this week they should be able to bounce back. They got 2 home games this week with the road game on Sunday, and then they're spread out as well too. They only play Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday this week, and 2 out of 3 of those games are at home. So they're going to be comfortable this week. They're going to be a little rested this week as well too, because they did play a lot of games here in the first 2 weeks of the season. So they'll be getting a little bit of a break. So all in all, that is going to be a very good thing for the Nuggets. Now you got a Pelicans team that's getting used to having Zion back. They lost by 18 on Saturday night to the Hawks at home. That's kind of surprising because you always feel that the Pelicans are going to be really good at home. They're going to always take care of their business at home, and they just didn't do it the other night. So tonight, I feel like what's going to happen here is that it's going to be a drastic over bet on the Nuggets. So with that over bet, what happens is this: the Pelicans figure out a way to come in here and play some of their best basketball of the season, because this is a target game for them playing against the defending world champions, especially on the road. And let's go ahead and catch them slipping tonight as well, too. I love the plus 210 on the Pelicans tonight. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And that's going to be our NBA dog of the day as well, too. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final commercial break. And when I get back, we got Talkin Tickets. So stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, it is time for Talking Tickets, and with Talking Tickets comes some great tickets, some valuable tickets, big money tickets. And up first, we have ourselves the CBB PrimeTime PK6 91-1. And I know I usually bless y'all with the Dog Day Pick 4, Jackpot, Dirty Dozen, all that good stuff. And bailout Pick 4, all that stuff. But you know what? It's opening day of college basketball. I see this as more pageantry than anything. 80% of these games are glorified scrimmages. Let's keep it real. And pretty much this is just about kicking off the season. It's 184 games a day. There's way too many games to cap here. And if you're college basketball, enthusiasts and things like that. So you have to choose a set amount of games for yourself today and just move forward. I didn't feel like handing y'all 20 games today. I just did. I just felt like it was no need to do that because it's such pageantry that goes on here. And the more you put on a list, the less it sometimes things can go to the left. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to give you guys bang for your buck, but I feel like 91-1 is bang for your buck and even better with a 6-piece. And with the 6-piece, we got Georgia plus 6.5. We got Siena minus 6.5. We got Princeton plus 195 money line. College CBB dog of the day. We got the 16.5 to Virginia. This should be good as well too. And then we have New Hampshire plus 17 today as well. And then we finish up with Kansas State and pretty much the penultimate game today, and that's going to be with Kansas State and USC on TNT. And we know why TNT bought the game, because they had this idea LeBron James Jr. was going to play, but Bronny is probably not going to play any basketball this season with his ailment and everything like that. Even though his father said that he was going to play basketball this season, I still say to myself, the kid just needs to sit out because he could have died when that situation happened. So it is what it is. But all in all, I like Kansas State, the team that played in the Elite Eight last year, should have played in the Final Four as well too. They just fell short. So with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the NBA Super High 5, 39-1. We got the Magic minus 125. We got the plus 11 on the Wizards tonight. Also, we got the under 223.5 with the Clippers and the Knicks. And then we have the over 222.5 with the Celtics and the Wolves. And then we wrap up with the Pelicans plus 210 money line as our NBA dog of the day. So that's going to be our group for the NBA tonight. And the Super High 5 is hitting for 39-1, really 40-1 when you add on the extra dollar. So if you put $20 on this bad boy, you get back 680, which winds at 780, which winds up being with the 20 is $800. So there it is. There it is. You guys can go ahead and do this tonight. You can have a small risk for a big reward if you want to go ahead and play this ticket. Same goes for the CBB PrimeTime PK6. But as I always say, single what you like off these tickets as well too, because the single ticket will always be the one that you can say to yourself when it cashes, you didn't have to go through, you didn't have to sweat as much as you do with the parlay. So with that, we move forward with the Monday Night Football bets. All these are individual bets as well too. I know it looks a little crazy with me taking the Chargers at minus 180, but still, this is a very, very public play when it comes to spread on the Chargers today. So I say that, you know what, instead of playing with the headaches and everything like that and hoping they win this game by 4 or more, knowing that this game is probably going to wind up being very close and they'll probably win the game by 2 or 3 points. So let's not jump into that crowd. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and take it on the chin, make it an insurance play. I feel confident in the Chargers tonight. Most of it, I hope, the bettors that tell me feel as confident as I do in the Chargers tonight, because I really don't see them losing this game. I got them with the minus 180. It's okay to go ahead and spend a little bit extra to make sure you ensure you cash the ticket. Then you have the over 20 first half. I think this is going to be a solid play as well too. I know a lot of people know that, the Jets tend to not give up a lot of points, but tonight is different. They've been off a few days, a few extra days than they usually are, and they haven't really went against the offense like the Chargers, or a quarterback like Herbert. So we'll see how it goes. I think Herbert's going to dissect these guys tonight, to be honest with you. So it is what it is with the over 20 first half. And then I got the Chargers in the first quarter as well, too, plus 115 to have a slight lead after the first quarter ends. So we'll see how it goes. And then I got the Jets. I'm not saying they don't score 20 points tonight. I just said they don't get over 20 points tonight. So with that, I'm going to take the under 20.5 team total. That's a minus 180 tonight as well, too. And then we have ourselves the Chargers minus 6 plus 130 alternate line tonight. So I'm saying to myself, I'm so confident in the Chargers that I have them winning this game by a touchdown or better. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But those are my Monday Night Football bets. And that's going to be a wrap on today's show. So with that, as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And you guys already know. You guys already know. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. And I'll be right back at you tomorrow at, I think we'll be back at 11. We'll be back at 1 o'clock because tomorrow we got the show at 10. So, you know, it's going to take about 90 minutes to 2 hours. But I'm going to try to be pretty quick with that tomorrow as well, too. So we can try to get this thing started no later than 1 o'clock. I'm trying to actually get it started by at least 12 or 12:30. So you guys make sure to tune in for tomorrow's show. And as I said, we got NFL Bet Exchange coming up at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and then we have the PrimeTime Angles coming up either at 12:30 or 1 p.m. Pacific time. So there it is. There it is. I thank you guys so much. You have a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as well too. So you guys make sure to go ahead and bet smart. Like I always say, don't be no silly, don't be no goof, don't be no sucker, okay? So have a great day. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Be on the lookout. Talkin Tickets will be tweeted out on the Twitter as well, too. And if you guys do want to follow me, you guys can follow me at Pop DiBiase on the Twitter. You guys can follow the Prime Wave Media page at Prime Wave Media. Also, you guys can follow the Twitter page for Prime Wave Media at Prime Wave MG as well, too. So with that, you guys have a beautiful day for the last time because I'm out of here. Gone. See ya. Sayonara. Bye-bye.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.